Each year, for 30 days, 1.5 billion Muslims around the world fast during the month of Ramadan. You may have heard about Ramadan as a time during which followers of Islam abstain from food and drink each day from dawn until sunset. But there's much more to this month than simply not eating or drinking. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Being lunar means, in effect, that within the span of every 30 years or so, the month of Ramadan falls in each of the 4 seasons, hence the just nature of the lunar system. Just imagine the month arising at the same time every summer or every winter, which brings us to an interesting question. It's hard enough to abstain from food and water for a whole day. How do people do it in the summer? Not even water? Actions that Muslims are commanded to avoid during fasting hours include eating, drinking, smoking, having sex, and the list continues. Then they are free vis-a-vis these actions until daybreak of the following day. The time to break the fast, or in other words, to feast, coincides with sunset. It is often a fun time for families and friends who share meals and invite each other over for dinner, or dine with their local community at a mosque or center. Obviously, there are exceptions. For someone with health concerns who requires medications throughout the day, fasting is not an option for them. In general, where fasting compromises an ill person's pace of treatment or prognosis, they are ordered to refrain. Other exceptions include pregnant women, nursing mothers, postpartum women, children, travelers, and seniors who either cannot tolerate fasting or upon whom fasting is harmful. Almost everyone else, fasting is fair game. The month of Ramadan is a time of reflection and self-improvement in terms of oneself, one's behavior with other people, and one's relationship with the divine. Fasting has much inner and outer wisdom underlying it. It is a way for a person to feel solidarity with the millions of poor and hungry people around the world who are fasting day and night without a choice. People usually take food and water for granted and rarely ever feel real hunger, and so don't think about those who are suffering. Fasting is a means for one to share a little bit in the pain that millions of others go through every day, and to feel more motivated to give to charity to help those who are in need and society's more susceptible ones. Fasting means abandoning, and this abandoning entails physical actions such as eating, drinking, and abstract actions such as abandoning one's ego and becoming totally selfless and annihilated in the divine. With all actions, there is an inner and an outer meaning. The inner objective in fasting is to attain an inner state of silence. This is acquired by slowly, surely taming one's animal dimension, thus becoming closer and closer to the essence of what we are. Don't be sidetracked by the negative images you encounter in the media. Why not experience it for yourself and visit your local Islamic center and take part in the Ramadan experience? See how it goes. Get to know yourself better.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When Ramadan comes along, some people act as if a food festival has come to town. We have this type of food and that type and this appetizer and that. And Ramadan is actually a month of fasting. That means that the month is not about eating. The month is actually about feeding the needy people, putting in the effort. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever feeds a fasting person gets the reward of that fasting person with the same reward without taking away from that fasting person. So this Ramadan, don't focus so much on attending all these food festivals, focus on feeding the needy.
What is the definition of fasting? If you ask children, they will tell you fasting is when you don't eat and you don't drink from sunup until sundown. And sometimes a lot of adults use the same definition. That's it. That's all fasting is. Okay, that's it? Just fasting? Sunup, sundown, don't drink, don't eat? What happens then if I'm fasting and then I forget that I'm fasting and I eat? This is actually a true story. One imam, he was invited to a buffet and he ate and drank and he had like cake and drinks and buffet, you know the rule when you go to a buffet. You either break even or you profit. So this guy profited, alhamdulillah. He ate a whole lot. He said, then when I was totally done, then I remembered that I'm fasting. So does his fast count or not? Of course the answer is yes, it counts because he completely forgot. So that means it's got to be more than eating and drinking. So it's got to be something else. Of course, a sawm, fasting, means to abstain. So it's not just abstaining from eating and drinking, it's from all kinds of other things. It's from lying, it's from bad words, it's from cursing, it's from backbiting. Many people now, their main concern is what goes into their mouth. These are the people who exaggerate. Once they make wudu, they'll spit like 100 times to make sure there's no wetness left in their mouth whatsoever. Nothing goes down the throat. Even though in the Sharia, a little bit of wetness is ma'fu, it's pardoned, it's not an issue. But they exaggerate. Some people even tell you, and this is all wrong, but they tell you, don't shower in Ramadan because, you know, water will come in through your ears. I mean, who drinks through their ears anyways? So just exaggerations there. And don't use perfume, don't smell food, you know, if you pass by the kitchen, hold your breath. All these exaggerations, just making sure nothing goes inside. But they don't care what comes outside. So they're lying in the middle of the day in Ramadan, they're backbiting, they're spreading rumors, they're cursing, they're saying all kinds of horrible things. And they think fasting is, nothing goes in here. And as long as that's the case, then I'm fasting. The acts of worship, one of their aims is to improve our manners. And we see this across the board with all kinds of acts of worship. With fasting, it's very clear and very pronounced because the Prophet ﷺ taught us that if you're fasting and someone is fighting with you or cursing you or anything like that, you say out loud, Inni sa'imun, inni sa'imun. I am fasting, I am fasting. You say it out loud also so they hear, and maybe they'll be put to shame a little bit and refrain from, you know, their animosity or their fighting towards you. So the purpose of fasting also is to improve and have an impact on our mannerisms and our akhlaq. So remember that when you're fasting, it's not about what goes in only, but it's also about what comes out. And what comes out can be far more serious than what goes in. So be sure in this month in Ramadan, you're very, very careful about what you say. You're very, very careful with your tongue. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.